Hello everyone, Atma Namaste. Welcome to the live session on Life Simplified. So let us begin. Let us start with a short prayer and then we will resume with our topic for today. And the topic for today is labels are for jars and not for people. So we will just share a few insights, maybe a few more discussions on the whole cause and effect of labeling people. What type of labels? How do we label it? And how can we avoid? So we will just have a little discussion on this so that once we are aware of the cause and effect of such acts, we can stop ourselves from doing certain things. All right, so let's begin with a short prayer. I request you to close your eyes, relax yourself, take a deep breath to the Supreme God, to Master Choa Kok Sui, to Lord Mahaguruji Mailing, to all the great ones. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for your guidance, your help. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for blessing all of us with the ability to not label people, tag people, or brand people. Thank you for giving us the inner strength to accept people as they are and also to allow them to change, to improve, and allow them to evolve. Thank you in full faith, so be it. Gently open your eyes with a big smile. Once again, Atma Namaste. So let's begin with our topic on labels. Okay. So जैसे आपने ये topic देखा that labels are for jars and not for people, what is the first thing that came to your mind? What are the type of labels that we often use in our day-to-day life? So हमारे day-to-day life में आप देखेंगे I was just reflecting कि हम लोग किस तरह के labels इस्तेमाल करते हैं. So I've just shortlisted a few, and the first label that we get fooled with, or the first label जो हर इंसान इस्तेमाल करता है, is a label or a tag of relationship or a relationship label. The relationship label is nothing but this person is my wife, so she is supposed to behave like this. This person is labeled as my husband, so this person is supposed to behave like this. So this person is my father, तो हम फादर का उन पे लेबल लगा देते हैं, मदर का लेबल लगा देते हैं, हम लोग बहुत चीज का लेबल लगा देते हैं. And the first type of label that we are talking about is relationship label. Sometimes we also label people, okay, this person is my friend, labeled. Now in our minds we think, okay, friend है means उसके हर label के पीछे we have its ingredients ready or we have its checklist ready, and that label is nothing but a label of expectation, either created by our own minds, either created by society, either created by our culture, and which may or may not be true. So the first type of label is basically a relationship label. Now let me give you some examples. Like जैसे अगर हम लोग label लगा देते हैं किसी पर, okay, this person is, say for example, my father, और say for example my father-in-law. तो आप जैसे ही उनको लेबल करते हैं फादर इन लॉ, तो कभी कभी हमारे दिमाग में एक चेकलिस्ट शुरू हो जाती है कि ओके, इफ दिस पर्सन इज इन दिस रिलेशनशिप मीन्स उनका बिहेवियर ऐसे 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 होना चाहिए. और जब उनका बिहेवियर उस लेबल के हिसाब से मैच नहीं करता है, then we internally start feeling upset, we internally start getting irritable, we internally start losing our peace. Now this peace is not happening because that person is bad. This peace which we are losing inside is happening simply because हमने जैसे ही उनको एक लेबल लगा दिया, लेबल लगाते ही अपने दिमाग में उस लेबल के रिलेशन में जितनी भी चेकलिस्ट है वो दिमाग में दौड़ने लगी. And that checklist, when people don't fit into that checklist, we forget that we are all souls, and not all souls are equally evolved, and not all souls have equal kind of strengths. So sometimes we feel, oh my God, मेरे father होकर के आप ऐसा बोलते हैं, आप ऐसा language इस्तेमाल करते हैं. In spite of being my mother, how can you behave like this? In spite of being my husband, how can you behave like this? In spite of being my friend, how can you behave like this? And this causes lot of emotional pain. This also causes lot of psychological pain. The same label we also use in business, especially for our business partners. कभी कभी हम लोग business partner का label लगा देते हैं. तो partner का आप label लगा दिए, of course you need to realize that yes, we are in this relationship, but the label sometimes has expectations behind it, and when people don't meet that expectation, then we feel irritable, then we feel angry, and we lose our inner peace. So sometimes we need to realize that yes, we do have relationships, but end of the day, let us not forget that we are all souls and we are all evolving, and you cannot compare one label to another label. Now label में एक और चीज़ क्या हो जाता है, जब लोग जब एक ग्रुप में मिलते हैं, you will often see people start discussing, they start comparing their labels. You start comparing your labels. Like for example, अगर लोग साथ में बैठे हैं तो suppose one person is saying, you know what, my husband is like this or my wife is like this. फिर दूसरा बोलता है कि no, my husband and wife is even worse. My husband or this one does that, this one does this. So sometimes we start comparing the labels also. Now here, according to the law of karma, the karma that comes back to us, how will this karma come back to us? People will also label you and put their expectation behind that label. You might have your children telling you, oh, you're my mom, you're supposed to be like this. And it might cause you emotional pain. You might sometimes have your some relationship, maybe your in-laws telling you, no, you're a daughter-in-law, you're supposed to be like this. And then you feel bad about it. No, I'm not fitting in. I'm not being able to meet expectations of people. I'm not being able to do this. I'm not being able to do that. तो उसकी वजह से अंदर में एक एंजाइटी पैदा होने लगती है. उसकी वजह से अंदर में खराब लगने लगता है. So the karma of having labels for other people, the same karma comes back to us where people label us and they put their expectations under that label. Like we have a lot of cultural labels, this person for all the different roles that we play in a family. So ये हो गया एक relationship का label. Let's take second label का example, which I had just noted down. So the second type of label which we often use is where our mind connects one person to another person. So we label people in similarities of people. Oh, ये और ये इंसान तो एक जैसे ही हैं. All these people are like that. Like sometimes we label people, we label alike people alike. Like for example, sometimes we label कि all the Marwadis are like this only. All Bengalis are like this only. All Hindus are like this only. Sometimes we label people based on culture. So we are not giving that other person a chance to. So when we are labeling, we are already coloring our mind and looking at that other person in that light. And we are not seeing things clearly. We are not looking at that human being as a human being, but putting a veil of this label कि वो तो इंसान ऐसा ही है. Sometimes we put a culture bias. Sometimes we put a bias of a label of a country. All the people in China are like this. All Chinese are like this. All Russians are like this. All Indians are like this. Again, labeling people based on a group. A group. Then also बहुत बार लोग लेबल करते हैं कि ये और ये इंसान ये दोनों तो एक जैसे ही हैं. They are all the same. कोई भी दो इंसान कभी एक जैसे हो सकते हैं क्या? So जब हम लोग ये लेबल अपने दिमाग में लगा लेते हैं कि what these two people, ये suppose you have had a bad experience with one person, और दूसरा जो इंसान है उसका नेचर कुछ उस इंसान के साथ थोड़ा सा मिलता जुलता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर थोड़ा भी मिलता जुलता है तो हमारे दिमाग में हम लोग ये मेंटल मैपिंग कर देते हैं या मेंटल लेबलिंग कर देते हैं, ओ ये और ये इंसान एक जैसे ही है. तो कितने बार क्या होता है, वो दूसरे वाले ने हो सकता है दोनों में कुछ सिमिलैरिटी है, बट in spite of not have, they might be 50% same, they might be 60% same, but no two people can be 100% same. But if you put a label, then sometimes you will also assume. So mind क्या करता है, ये assumption में चला जाता है कि एक इस इंसान ने जो गलती की है ये दूसरा इंसान भी ऐसे ही गलती करेगा, ये एक जैसे ही है. So sometimes we club people just because they have 50% similarity. Sometimes we make them as 100% similar, and then we brand them and label them कि ये एक जैसे ही हैं. हो सकता है उसकी वजह से हमारे अंदर रिलेशनशिप प्रॉब्लम्स पैदा हो सके. You know? So now again, how will you know whether you are doing this? Also by seeing that, are you becoming a victim to this? Are you becoming a victim where people are telling you, you know what, you are also from this family, मतलब तुम भी ऐसे ही हो. And then you feel bad कि no, I am from this family but I have not done this. Why am I being punished for doing this? I am maybe from this particular country, I am maybe from this particular culture, but you have a perception in your mind, a negative perception about this type of people. लेकिन मैं तो वैसी नहीं हूँ. Why am I being punished? You know, this is how the karma comes back to us, or this is how the fruit comes back to us when we in our minds label others without having to understand and going into the depth of every human being. We just brand people कि ये तो सारे ऐसे ही हैं. You know, this becomes a big factor for not having good relationships, and also maybe missing out on good relationships. कितने बार कुछ relationships हो सकता है अच्छी बन सकती थी, लेकिन आपके दिमाग में आपने लेबल लगा दिया, उसकी वजह से वो relationship आगे बढ़ ही नहीं पाई. So बहुत बार लोग बहुत सारे biases लेबल लगा देते हैं, especially for people. This person is like this, and you put both of them in that one jar and label them कि ये ऐसे ही हैं, and you don't even give a chance to the other person to prove himself or herself and fix it in your mind that this is how they are. इस family के लोग तो सारे ऐसे ही हैं. क्या एक family के सारे लोग similar हो सकते हैं क्या? But sometimes in our conversations we'll catch ourselves by saying कि ये family के तो सारे लोग ऐसे ही हैं. Then we are again, what we're doing, we are putting everybody in one label. Okay? So this is the second type of label where you group people. You know, you group all of them as one kind, and without having tested each one, you actually put everybody together. Maybe group of people from one country, group people from one culture, group people from one community, yeah, group people from one family, or maybe just two people also. Just because you see some similarity in them, you just label them and think कि both are ये ऐसे ही हैं. And you put a veil on your mind. आपके mind के ऊपर एक पर्दा आ जाता है और आप उनको उसी light में देखने लगते हैं, which may or may not be accurate. Okay, so this is the second type of label. Now the third type of label is a very common label, is the label where we mentally label people on their behaviors or on their personality traits. No? So say for example, sometimes we tell, oh, this person is very loving, for example. तो ये तो चलिए एक positive label हो गया. But this is something where we also use the same labels when it is something negative. Like we tell someone, oh, this person is always lazy. Can any human being always be lazy? So, you know, we put labels, oh, this person is lazy. ये अपने दिमाग में एक लेबल आ गया. तो उससे क्या होगा, इनफैक्ट इससे दो नुकसान ये होता है कि अगर वो इंसान लेजी है भी, बट आप अगर ये लेबल लगा देते हैं कि वो लेजी है, इनफैक्ट दिस पर्टिकुलर पर्सन विल बिकम मोर लेजी इन योर प्रेजेंस, विल इनफैक्ट बिकम वर्स इन योर प्रेजेंस. और अगर वो वर्स नहीं भी है, बिकॉज योर माइंड आपके आँख के सामने एक पर्दा आ गया कि ये इंसान लेजी है, तो आपको जब भी वो इंसान डायनामिक हो रहा है या एक्टिव हो रहा है, आपको वो दिखेगा ही नहीं. आपको वही दिखेगा जो आप देखना चाहते हैं. You know, say for example, have you seen that whenever you're trying to buy a car, or may not be a car because अभी तो लॉकडाउन चल रहा है, लोग गाड़ियाँ शायद नहीं खरीद रहे हैं. Say for example, you want to buy okay, let's go ahead with the car. I'm not getting any other example in my mind. Suppose, have you not seen that you are planning to buy a car, and when you're thinking about it in your mind, you will often see कि रास्ते पर आपको वही कार ज़्यादा दिखाई देती है. एंड सडनली आपके दिमाग में एक विचार आता है कि अरे लगता है ये कार बहुत बिक रही है, आजकल बहुत बिकने लगी है, लेकिन वही कार हमको क्यों ज्यादा दिखाई देती है. Those cars were always moving on the street, but because you were making this thought in the mind that I want to buy this car, I want to buy this car, this thought is in your mind and it kind of makes you see. तो सामने अगर 10 गाड़ी खड़ी है अलग अलग तरह की, आपको वही कार सबसे पहले दिखेगी जिसका थॉट आपके दिमाग में है. Did you understand this? Why am I giving this example? Why? Because suppose you have a family member, maybe your own child or maybe your husband. Okay, now उसके अंदर भी 10 qualities हैं. Sometimes your husband is lazy, sometimes your husband is dynamic, sometimes your husband is loving, sometimes maybe your husband is peaceful, sometimes your husband is angry. But in your mind you have labeled that my husband is lazy. तो आपको उसके अंदर वो 10 क्वालिटीज है, लेकिन आपको हमेशा क्या दिखेगी? आपको सामने बस लेजीनेस ही दिखेगा. जब भी वो एक्टिव हो वो आपको दिखेगा ही नहीं. एंड हाउ विल योर हस्बैंड फील ऑन द अदर एंड? वो बोलेगा कि जब हम एक्टिव होते हैं, काम तो हम इतना कर रहे हैं, इसको दिखता ही नहीं है. हाउ कम दैट पर्सन इज नॉट सीइंग व्हाट गुड आई एम डूइंग? व्हाई? बिकॉज आपके आंखों के सामने आपने एक पर्दा डाल दिया है. एंड दिस वेल, you know, it is almost like I'll just show you an example. Say for example, this is a transparent green color board. Now if I put this in front of my eyes, मुझे जो भी दिख रहा है उसमें एक green tinge के साथ ही मुझे दिख रहा है. So this is the effect of labels. So when I put this in front of my eyes and then when I try to see, I will see everything with this label only. So if I use this label, okay, this X person is lazy, say even your child, suppose आप बोल रहे मेरा बच्चा तो lazy है, तो आपने ये आपके माइंड के ऊपर ये लेबल लगा दिया है और आपको वही चीज से सब चीज दिखाई दे रहा है. And that is why these labels are dangerous. Why? Because it doesn't allow you to see anything else. Now अगर मैं एक ग्रीन पर्दे के साथ सब चीज देख रही हूँ, तो सामने अगर रेड कलर भी है तो मुझे रेड दिखेगा नहीं, मुझे ग्रीन का ही टिंज दिखेगा. So these labels, it actually stops us, refrains us from seeing the divinity or goodness in other people. और ये लेबल्स हमारे दिमाग में आए कहाँ से? ये लेबल्स हमारे दिमाग में यहाँ से आए हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि हो सकता है कि एक बार कुछ नेगेटिव इंस्टेंस हो गया, उस नेगेटिव इंस्टेंस को आपने इतना सीरियसली ले लिया और अपने दिमाग में एक लेबल बना दिया, और हो सकता है कि you have kind of reinforced it and you have repeatedly affirmed it in your mind. तो वो एक ब्रांडिंग आपने कर दी इस इंसान की कि ये इंसान तो ऐसा ही है. So now you have to really regulate and control yourself from making thoughts like this person is always like this. ये इंसान तो हमेशा ऐसा ही करता है. And when you do it with so much of firm conviction, it is actually harmful to the other person. It makes that other person worse. So now let's talk about the positive part. कि ठीक है, आपने ये लेबल तो लगा दिया, and suppose you are now realizing कि no, I have made this label and this label is actually making the other person worse. So how can we rectify? So how can we rectify this? We can simply rectify this by blessing the other person with opposite positive quality, especially for the character labels. Now suppose आपने किसी के लिए एक लेबल लगा दिया कि ये इंसान तो cheat है, this person is a liar. Okay? And unfortunately sometimes people do this to their own children. They sometimes do this to their own closest family members. हो सकता है कि आपके बच्चे ने कभी डर में आके, कुछ प्रॉब्लम में आके एक बार झूठ बोल दिया, 2 बार झूठ बोल दिया, उसको आपने इतना सीरियसली ले लिया कि आपके दिमाग में एक लेबल अपने बच्चे के लिए बना दिया कि माय चाइल्ड लाइज अ लॉट. Now if you put this label in your presence, your child is going to lie more. Have you not seen this? आप खुद के साथ ही देख लीजिए कि सपोज हम लोग के सबके लाइफ में बहुत सारे ग्रुप्स ऑफ पीपल होते हैं जिनसे हम लोग कनेक्टेड हैं. Suppose you have 2 groups of people, maybe one there is a group of people of family members and there is another group of people of maybe your 2 closest friends or 2 family members जिनके साथ हो सकता है आपकी बहुत अच्छी बनती नहीं है. Now suppose those 2 family members, they think that you are a rude person. Suppose उनके दिमाग में लेबल है कि आप बहुत ही rude हो. Suppose they have this label in their mind for you that you are a very rude person, you're a cruel person and you're not kind. And the other 2 friends, they have a label in their mind that you're such a kind person or you're so loving person. आप देखेंगे कि आप सेम इंसान हैं, लेकिन एक ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल सोचता है कि आप काइंड हो और दूसरा ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल सोचता है कि आप बहुत रूड हो. You will often see that you will actually be more rude in front of those people who have labeled you as a rude person. And for those people who consider you as kind, you will also see that somehow you are more kind and generous with those people in comparison to the other people who are rude. And in front of them, you will be rude. And you will also feel कि नहीं यार इन लोग के सामने मुझे बहुत गुस्सा आता है. और दूसरे लोग के सामने आप बोलेंगे नहीं इन लोग के सामने मेरा मूड अच्छा रहता है. आई एम मोर काइंड एंड आई एम मोर हैप्पी. एंड यू विल एक्चुअली सी दैट योर बिहेवियर is different in front of this one group versus another group. So why is your behavior different? So one level of truth is, yes, we have different behaviors. Another level of truth is, this one group of people have a positive label for you and another group of people has a negative label for you, and it triggers. So जो group of people आपके लिए एक positive label use करते हैं, your positivity comes more on the surface in front of those people. The group of people who have labeled you in a negative way, your negative quality comes more on the surface in front of those people. Right? So have you not seen this? And this happens. Now the question is, इसको हम लोग कैसे ठीक कर सकते हैं? How can we overcome this? And what can we do about it? Now one thing we need to understand, according to the law of karma, if there are people labeling you in a negative way और आपको हमेशा दिमाग में prove करना पड़ता है कि no, I'm not really like this. Why is this person thinking that I am like this? Now this is happening to us because according to the law of karma, we are also doing this to someone. Maybe we are also labeling people in a negative way. So when we stop labeling people, people will stop labeling us. When we stop labeling people for their negative behaviors, कि हम लोग के दिमाग में हम लोग ने एकदम फिक्स्ड स्टैंप लगा दिया है कि ये इंसान ऐसा ही है, then the same karma will come back to us. It may not come from the same people, but it may come from somebody else. So the lesson for us to learn here, that if we suffer or we don't like this labeling business, we have to stop doing it. So it boils down to we trying to make ourselves better people. So in our minds we have to stop labeling. Now एक तो बहुत आसान है बोलना कि हम labeling stop कर दें, लेकिन इसको action में लाए कैसे? How can we bring it into action? So one simple technique which we will close our session with is the blessing technique. So for example, if you find some negative quality in someone, instead of labeling that person, what we could do is we can bless that person with opposite positive quality. Coming back to the example of laziness, if you have someone in your family who is lazy, instead of labeling the whole day that this person is so lazy, look this person is lazy, look this person is lazy, मुझे पता था इससे तो कभी काम होगा ही नहीं, मुझे तो पता था ये तो काम कभी खत्म करेगा ही नहीं. With so much of faith and so much of conviction, we create such thoughts for the people in our family. So instead of doing that, how about blessing them with opposite positive quality? So if you have somebody in your family who is lazy, instead of branding them and thinking more about it, you raise your hands in the blessing posture and you can mentally say, may God bless you with promptness, with activity, with dynamism. You bless them with opposite positive quality. So would you like to practice this? Yeah, shall we practice? So think about any one person whom you are guilty of labeling. See, we cannot change others, but we do have the power to change our karmas. If we don't want others to label us or to hold negative opinions about us, we have to stop holding negative opinions about other people, and we have to genuinely put a sincere effort of not labeling people around us and give them a chance, and always have an open mind that no, every person is evolving, and not to just brand them and put them aside. Alright? So what we could do is, next time you see a negative quality in someone, or if you are seeing a negative quality in someone for a long period of time, you bless them with opposite positive quality. Okay? So let's take an example. Say for example, can you give me an example of any one person? What do you see a negative quality, or you have labeled someone like that? No, this person is irritable in nature, or this person is angry, or this person is lazy. Which is the label that you use the most? Please put that in the comment box. Which label do you use the most? We will try to, whichever comes, the first 2, 3, we will practice that. Which label you think? Sometimes we label people as based on their culture. Are you doing that? Sometimes we label people based on their maybe you know their city. सब बहुत बार लोग बोलते हैं कि अच्छा दिल्ली के तो सारे लोग ऐसे ही होते हैं, कलकत्ता के तो सारे लोग ऐसे ही होते हैं, all the South Indians are like that only. Sometimes we have labels like this. Okay, so say for example, to start with, suppose you have someone in your family who is lazy. Let's take the same example. Okay, or you have, I think another very common one is people who lie. आसपास में तो हम लोग मन में एक लेबल ही लगा देते कि ये इंसान तो झूठा है, ये तो हर बार झूठा ही बोलता है. Of course you have to be alert, but that doesn't mean that you label. Okay, so suppose you're seeing that in someone, what will you bless that person with? You can bless that person with honesty. So shall we do this? Let us do this together. Yeah. So think about any one person whom you think lies, and you have felt hurt about it, you have felt bad about it, and you have also been guilty of labeling this person as a liar or as a manipulator. Sometimes we say, "अरे ये इंसान तो manipulator है एकदम." So this is a strong label. So you're just tagging that person कि ये तो बस manipulate ही करता है. हो सकता है उसने एक बार किया, 2 बार किया, but you have labeled, and you will become more victim of manipulation of that person. Even if that person has stopped, but you will still see it happening to you because you have labeled that person as a liar. Okay, so shall we? Yeah. So think about any one person who has lied to you, or you have labeled that person as a liar. Now put your hands in the blessing posture. Imagine that person like small size in front of you. Please smile. You mentally say, "May God bless you with honesty." Thank you, God, for blessing this person. Take the name of this person. Thank you, God, for blessing this person with honesty. Thank you, God, for giving this person the inner strength to speak the truth. Thank you for blessing this person with the inner motivation, the inner strength to be honest. May you be blessed with honesty. Just repeat this 3 to 4 times. May you be blessed with honesty. May you be blessed with honesty.